Now we're turning our attention straight away to development in the United States, which has enthralled the rest of the world for close to 2 weeks now. But let's first consider this. Joe Biden is on course to reverse several major Trump policies in the first afternoon in the office following his inauguration on Wednesday. They include striking down a travel ban on predominantly Muslim countries and having the United States rejoin the Paris Climate Accord. His first overseas visit as president is likely to be a G7 summit in June in a tiny Cornish fishing village in the west of England. Meanwhile, new and disturbing footage has emerged of pro-Trump rioters thrashing the Senate chamber on January the 6th. It is likely to be used as evidence in Trump's impeachment trial. This news comes as defense officials say they are worried about an insider attack or other threats from service members involved in securing the inauguration, prompting the FBI to vet all the 25,000 National Guard troops coming into Washington for the event. From Washington, our special correspondent John Cookson reports.
An election where we can't sit in their chairs?
No! We're not putting up with that either.
This new footage is as shocking as it's compelling. It was compiled by a writer from the New Yorker magazine who was with a mob of right-wing extremists who stunned America and the world by storming into the Capitol building almost 2 weeks ago. Members of the mob ransacked desks. This young man is saying there's got to be something we can use against these scumbags. Watching from the gallery, the man we now know as 32-year-old Jake Angeli. He's a familiar face at pro-Trump rallies and a QAnon conspiracy theorist, sometimes known as the QAnon shaman.
Glad to see you guys.
The young man says, I think Ted Cruz would want us to do this. Cruz being a Republican senator who supported Trump's unfounded allegation the presidential election was rigged in Joe Biden's favor. And this is the moment the rest of the pro-Trump demonstrators stormed in. Early, the president had made a speech urging supporters to fight to win back a rigged election. Police appeared dumbfounded and powerless as Angeli sat in the chair normally occupied by the vice president. This and other footage must surely be used at the impeachment trial of Donald Trump. The FBI had warned of possible right-wing armed demonstrations before Inauguration Day, but so far protest has been low-key. This was Lansing, Michigan, where a small group of gun-toting demonstrators showed up. They were dwarfed, though, by law enforcement on high alert. Almost 2 weeks on, it's like the downtown area around the Capitol is one big military base. As Washingtonians get used to lockdown set to be in place until Thursday, the only choice is to hunker down like this man with a mobile disco and wait until it's all over. Security is still increasing by the hour ahead of Wednesday's inaugural. I never thought I'd see the day when US troops occupied the Hyatt in Washington, but then again, these are not ordinary days. John Cookson, Arise News, Washington.
Great report from John Cookson there. For further update on this development story, we'll now cross over to Washington, D.C. to join Arise Correspondent Rotimi Michael Kade. Rotimi, good morning, and thank you for joining us again on the morning show. Well, very quickly, we're told that in the first hours of assuming office on Wednesday, President Biden, as he would then be, will issue a number of executive orders to reverse certain decisions taken by the Trump administration, including ban on immigrants from certain Muslim countries, including the United States rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement, and then suspension of payments on housing, on scholarship loans, and also suspension of housing evictions. Well, are we looking forward to any other surprises on that list? And what will be the symbolic meaning of that reversal of certain decisions that have been taken by the Trump administration?
Yeah, good morning, Abati. Good morning, Rufai.
Good morning, Richard.
First of all, to start with, the Biden administration has made it very, very clear through the office of the incoming chief of staff that they are ready to do away with some of Trump's policies going forward, which you've mentioned, and that is going to be the first assignment of the President Biden coming into office, and that's very, very significant. Significant in the sense that but candidate Biden actually made it known while he was campaigning that he's going to reverse some of this policy because, in his own opinion, is putting the United States further isolating the U.S. From the allies and every other thing that U.S. stands for. So, first of all, he wants to make sure that that is very clear. And that's not just the only thing he's going to do. There are other plethora of policies and legislative bills that he's going to send to the Senate for approval come that particular day. But going forward, I think it's going to be a very good start. And chief among some of the things that it's going to do is also the mask mandate on all federal buildings in the country, and also to accelerate the vaccination of a majority of citizens. The target is 1 million citizens per day, and he wants to achieve that in 100 days. That's massive for Biden and his team.
Rotimi, I would like to find out, I mean, a lot of these ideas are coming up as to what will be implemented once inauguration happens. But how many of them, how do Americans feel about the feasibility of some of these plans? Are they achievable within a set period of time? Or how, in terms of feasibility, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah. First of all, I think there's been a lot of skepticism regarding some of this reversal. For instance, the vaccination of 1 million per day, the logistics are actually not there. Just some few days ago, we heard talking about the former now Health Secretary Alex Azar dropping his resignation. One of the reasons, obviously, is because they couldn't keep up to the promise they made last year that before the end of the year, they're going to have about 20 million people vaccinated. But they're short of that right now. And then a lot of states are actually complaining that they're not getting enough vaccination, or the vaccines, I should say, because they've actually run out of vaccines. And the federal government under the Trump administration actually promised that they have a sort of a reservoir of vaccine that could be enough for everybody. But right now, they're running short of that. And distribution also is a big problem. So what the Biden administration is coming to do is to actually lead. We understand that there's going to be a federal program that will usher at some of this distribution, just what the Trump administration failed to do. They left everything to the state. And of course, that was abysmal, and that's why this slow start in the vaccination. But I think things are picking up now going forward.
Thank you.
Right. Rotimi, good to see you again, as always. Real quickly, the two contentious issues on the global stage that the Trump administration has dropped the ball on many times, or three I should put in there now, will be the case of the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear agreement, which Trump has pulled out of, and that has led Iran to enrich uranium for about 20%. Anyway, you need about 90% to be able to get out there and do a nuclear weapon. But that's a big contentious issue. John Kerry was on that, was Secretary of State then. He helped, breach that agreement and work very strongly on that agreement. That has been reversed by Trump. Second, COP, Paris Climate Change Agreement. That's another one. And third, the very contentious issue that concerns our own person. That's Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. Making a case for her, America putting their own consensus in to ensure that she sails through and she becomes, DG of the WTO. Those three issues, what is going to be the slant on those three issues by Biden administration?
Well, I think I'll start with the Paris Accord. The Biden administration made it very, very clear that from day one, they're going to rejoin the Paris Agreement with, some of the allies. I mean, one of the reasons why U.S. is sort of isolated today in the world stage is because they're not at the top of some of these challenges and trying to resolve or sort of provide relief for some of these things going on, like, the climate change. U.S. used to be at the forefront. Biden believes that rejoining the Paris Accord will definitely give U.S. That edge. And of course, they can move forward. They can challenge other countries like China, Russia, that are, at the top of the countries of that pollutes the air the most. So, I mean, that's exactly the challenge before the Biden administration right now, and I think they made it very, very clear. So, the likes of Angela Merkel of Germany and the France President Emmanuel Macron will definitely be on board with Biden administration on this. And talking about the JCPOA, I believe that they might obviously not go into that agreement again with Iran, because already I don't think Iran will be interested to actually go into any other agreement again because of the lapses that they've experienced in the past few months since the Trump administration had pulled out of it. So I think that there could be some sort of another agreement that will be drawn up by the Biden administration that will make Iran to, concede to not enriching uranium. And most likely that is going to be the channel that the Biden administration will want to take. And talking about the WTO, I believe that Okonjo-Iweala could have a better chance with the Biden administration, because it's been a long time coming for Okonjo-Iweala. And I believe that the Democrats are a little bit more flexible when it comes to that. And the mere fact that Nigeria is also a big ally, and the mere fact that Okonjo-Iweala is a big player in the international scene, former MD of the World Bank, and she has held several positions in the U.S. So, more or less, it's going to be an easy sell for Okonjo-Iweala going forward.
Well, yesterday, the pro-Trump protesters, or if you like, Trump supporters, and also members of the Boogaloo movement had planned protests across state capitals in the United States. But it turned out to be a non-event. In Michigan, a few persons showed up in Lansing. In parts of Pennsylvania, some persons also showed up. But at the end of the day, it was a non-event. Is that an indication that the National Guard, the police, have now been able to put in place across the United States very strong, security system to ensure that there will be no crisis on Inauguration Day, which is Wednesday?
Well, I think the security agencies, especially the FBI, they've done a pretty good job. They've been able to expose the plan of these groups that want to protest, and they're alerting all National Guards from different states that they should be on high alert to ensure or kind of, reduce whatever insurrection that might be they might experience going forward. And of course, that's exactly the same. We also heard that this group may likely not converge on state capitals on the 20th, on the day of the inauguration. They might actually do that much earlier. And obviously, they don't take anything, they're not leaving anything to chance because of what happened last week. However, the FBI is also trying to vet the people that are actually working, especially in the Capitol, the 25,000 guards that are in the Capitol as we speak right now, because there are some intel that says that many of them might just be sympathizers, and there could be some sort of an inside job or an insider attack that could make it a lot easier for the so-called insurrectionists. And this massive undertaking reflects the extraordinary security concerns that have gripped Washington following the insurrection last week, and of course the U.S. Capitol by the Trump rioters. This definitely further underscores the fears that some of the very people assigned to protect the city over the next several days could actually present a threat to the incoming president and the VIP that may be in attendance going forward. So there's a massive things going on in Washington as we speak. There's internal vetting. There's also a lot of roadblocks. I mean, I'm just about 10 minutes away from the Capitol as I speak right now, and I tried to take a walk around the Capitol today, and I can tell you that I'm seeing more and more measures being put in place. And this is going to be perhaps one of the safest and very unusual going forward.
Rotimi, I want to move away from the security issue for a little bit and focus on possibly economy post-inauguration and Biden administration. You've talked quite briefly about renewed relations with Iran and things like that. But let's talk about international relations perspective for Africa. What is the current economic climate in terms of Biden's outlook on how will African countries probably relate better, drawing comparatively with the Trump administration?
Well, I think to start with, there's absolutely no specific plan. We don't know, maybe in the nearest future there will be a plan for Africa, but I think the Biden administration will want to maintain status quo. The AGOA program is there and it's always there. There's outlived many administrations, perhaps because of some sort of sympathies that Biden actually have for Africa, especially when you look at the nominations he made recently. Many Nigerians in his cabinet, and of course in some of the federal offices, he made so many appointments. So I want to believe that going forward, Biden might have something that most of the previous predecessors don't have for Africa. But for now, we can actually define the stand of the Biden administration, how Africa will benefit from it going forward.
Right, Rotimi, thank you so much for that. So I've got two questions for you. Just one is going to be a segue from what Abby was talking about, and that will be, I want to know the specific health of some programs concerning Africa. Take, for instance, PEPFAR was one of the biggest, programs or dole-out America ever had to Africa as regards the fight against AIDS, and programs like AGOA. Are they going to continue? That's the Opportunity Growth Act. Are programs like that going to continue? And I just want your reaction to this report that came out yesterday, I think it was at the Washington Post, that was talking about the fact that some people that got pardons from President Trump paid as much as close to $2 million. Briefly.
Well, it's a report, and it's yet to be confirmed. But we know that in the next few days, there were also reports that perhaps maybe on Tuesday, the eve of the president, the eve of the inauguration, I should say, that President Trump actually planned to pardon perhaps 100 of his supporters. That may likely come to fruition, but monetizing exactly. So I can't really say much on that, but I think there's a possibility for that.
Well, Michael, unfortunately, we don't have much more time. I would have loved to ask you whether President Trump will take the extraordinary step of pardoning himself or preemptive pardons for members of his family. But we'll see how that works out. By tomorrow, he's rolling out a long list of pardons as one of his last acts in office. Thank you very much, Michael Kade, for joining us.